Okay, put on your earphones, please. This video is classified information. Put on your earphones, please. Okay. Education First has Cannondale Lab 71. Jumbo Visma has entered Area 51. Let's do a flashback. So this is in regard to Jonas, Tadej, Stage 16, Alien Blood. Viking Alien Blood, Stage 16, time trial, domination situation here. 1 minute 38. That is just insane. That is the biggest, correct me if I'm wrong, that is the biggest gap in a time trial at the Tour de France between anyone, let alone the GC hitters ever. If we time machine back to 2003, 20 years ago, well, I was actually in France watching this one as a killer Tour de France as well, and I'm a huge fan of the Tour de France, don't get me wrong. Dave Miller, this is a lot longer time trial, 54 minutes, the gap was 9 seconds to second place. Lance Armstrong, 14 seconds down, with a gap of 9 seconds on Jan Ullrich. All right, so the main contenders that year were Lance versus Jan. This year, 20 years forward, we have Jonas and Tadej. All right, these two guys were walking around in nappies while Lance and Jan were battling it out across France. And fast forward 20 years later, the time gap in a much, much shorter time trial, almost half the distance time-wise, is a whopping 1 minute 38. Now that is some serious performance. Probably the greatest time trial ever. One of the greatest sporting performances ever in terms of cardiovascular and mitochondrial efficiency. All right, so it's getting the tongues wagging. People are like, can we believe this is natty? Is this clean? Was this done with some oxygen vector, exogenous hormones that enhance red blood cell production and proliferation? What's the deal, durianrider? What's your opinion? Well, this is my personal opinion here, all right? I believe Jonas is clean, all right? I believe that you can be totally clean, all right? Totally natural and do these levels of mutant performances. How? Totally natural. Just, you need a big bag of Viking fucking blood, alright? Paleontologists recently discovered a frozen ship in northern Denmark, alright? A frozen ship from, a few hundred years ago where the Vikings would go up and fight, and they would be having these bags of moose blood where they would put them in there with a hog's stomach, and they would IV with a bit of cane, a bit of a bamboo shoot they'd get from Vietnam, and they'd mainline that before battle. And the big storm come in, and they were in the glacial waters there, and an avalanche came and just covered the boat mid-battle, or actually pre-battle, pre-workout, and they just got preserved in this glacier. All right, amazing. All the gold jewelry and the diamonds and Nintendos, all these things preserved forever. And because of the polar ice caps melting, recently this was discovered. It's actually just a flagpole sticking out of a glacier. And the paleontologists, the geologists are out on a field trip for one of the major universities there in Norway and Denmark. A collab there is a Norway Denmark University collab. And they found this, one of the students fell over the flagpole, and it became a litigation case with some of the lawyers there. And anyway, so they found this whole boat, all right, and they found the moose blood, the Viking blood, and it's not technically illegal, all right. I mean, can you see any stipulations in UCI or WADA? Is Dick Pound? Remember Dick Pound? Did he say moose blood bags from 200 years ago? No, it's not illegal. All right, so it is possible to do these performances natty. You just need that big plug, that big bag of fresh 200-year-old moose blood, red blood cell count. And the erythrocytus rates of that is just insane. Anyway, so I believe it's natty. Let's talk about the bike tech. He used a time trial bike. Now, Tadej, funnily enough, He thought that weight matters up a hill. Weight doesn't really matter as much as aero gains. And we know the Cervelo bike have the aero gains. All right, so we had third place there was Wout van Aert, also on a aero gains TT bike, right, with a disc wheel. Now that wheel is so light on the back, it's literally 2 sheets of carbon fiber paper. Yes, it's paper thin, and it's just held on there with the glue of the tubulars. Now some say Jonas had an unfair advantage because his tyres were glued on, which allowed him to rail the corners without worrying about his hookless, tubeless tyres debeading from the bicycle. So that inspired extra confidence. And if you look at the way Jonas railed those corners, you know, like a crack or rail some white stuff, you understand that he was very, very confident in that his tyres would not debead under that gyroscopic torsional force that you get when you're absolutely pinning the corners there in hot French roads. Something that Bolocki wasn't unfortunate enough to be a champion of. So anyway, so he's running tubulars. The wheels are so light, it's basically the force of the watts you're putting through, minimum 350 watts to keep the back wheel in the bike, because the paper carbon thin walls of that disc wheel will just collapse, all right? So the glue holds it together for about 30 seconds, and they put the tyres on just before the starting ramp, and then the wattage activates that torsional rigidity, integrity and integration of the carbon layup in the laminate that's there. Okay, so that holds everything together, and across the finish line, you'll see the soigneurs are quickly grab the bike to. They've got about 30 seconds before that wheel starts to crumble, because it's so lightweight and it needs the torque and the cadence and the power to keep those, just gravity. It's basically just physics. I don't want to bore you with physics there, but that's the wheel, that's the bike. And disc brakes. I mean, disc brakes are definitely faster, right? So Jonas won because he had disc brakes. That's another advantage. And he also had a carbon fiber bike. So carbon fiber, disc brakes, aero. No one else was using that setup. So it just goes to show you, it's the bikes, man. It's the Cervelos, all right? I mean, I see it all the time here in Adelaide, Australia, or New York, or Bangkok, wherever I am. Cervelos, they just go quicker, man. Like, I mean, everyone's known that forever. Cervelo is the brand that 9 out of 10 dentists choose. It's just because it's performance enhancement, marginal gains for spades. It's just a far superior bike. They're handmade in I think it's Canada or Germany, something like that, or maybe California. The RCA coming back in the factory there, and it's just they're just precision, and they're And some people say, oh, look at this picture here of like Jonas, he's tongue flicking like a Mandingo on some 19-year-old blood. It's not a lizard tongue flick. That's just him. He's not a reptile. He doesn't have reptile blood going. Some people say you did a blood bag from a goanna. No, it's not. What are you? The allegations out there. The keyboard warriors. All right, keep your comments to yourself. That tongue flick is just. It's not like a pit viper sensing the prey in head. Tadej. It's just a bit of a nervous thing. He's excited. All right. And then you got this post picture here, and some people say that the reason why they call them UFOs, flying saucers, is that they're giving these Tour de France riders and Michael Phelps and Michael Jordan this alien blood, and it's all sauced up. And if you're sauced up, you can fly, aka flying saucer. And no, I don't think that he was kidnapped by aliens. I don't think it's alien blood in his bloodstream. I generally believe it's the paleontology find back there in university, excursion day. But he's got this. Someone said he's doing OnlyFans. Some people are saying the Cervelos are so expensive that the Jumbo Visma riders have to do OnlyFans Bukkake shows to afford the bikes. And based on this picture here of Jonas, I disagree with that. I think that's a bit of a lewd and shrewd and prude comment. I don't think. And some people say Rowan Dennis is retiring because he don't want to be on the OnlyFans train. I think that's just speculation. I don't think that's any valid claims. I think that's just a bit of extra saliva from the Viking blood. But anyway, that is the greatest time trial ever in pro sport, and I would say it's the greatest sporting performance out there. It's rivaling Kipchoge's, alien blood sub-2-hour marathon attempts. It's rivaling those distance running records in the 10K, the 5K, and the half marathon, the marathon. It's right up there, but that gap was insane, and now Tadej is like something like 6-7 minutes but down. I think after the rest day there, something happened on rest day, all right? Now, Tadej, apparently, correct me if I'm wrong, he did a backflip into a pool. I think that's silly. I mean, do that after the tour's finished. I know he's young, wants to have fun, and backflips are cool and stuff, but seriously, all your muscles are so tight from racing and straining and crashing and diving and just hotel beds and threesomes with the podium girls, etc. You're doing a backflip, you risk bulging one of your discs, even at a micro level, where it creates a bit of cervical or lumbar stenosis, where your discs, your vertebrae are pushing into or pinching or crimping a nerve, and that's not a good idea. That can take off a few watts off the bike. So I'm hoping these riders are doing cervical traction and lumbar traction, because that definitely is something we're going to see in the future as a performance enhancer, and it's totally legal. Because if you have any vertebrae bulge discs, cervical or lumbar stenosis, that is definitely going to create some numbness in the legs. Even if you can't feel it, that could be 10 watts, 20 watts, 30, 40, 50 watts even, all right? If you have any stenosis of the spinal cord, the spinal column there, it's going to impede your muscular facilitation, all right, into your lower limbs. And we know that the legs power the bike. The blood powers the legs and the legs power the pedals. So Pog doing a backflip, I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's true, but I keep hearing about it. Man, none of my riders be doing backflips. Like, after the tour, do whatever you want. You got time to recover. But during the tour, doing the backflip into the pool, who's watching these kids? And these guys are kids, And I don't say that in a condescending way. They're innocent, they're young, and they're basically being used by big money. They're paid by big money to make even more money for the people who are paying them. So people are like, oh, I want to believe in clean performances. It's like, come on, get real. All right, these kids, that's what they are. They're being paid really well, but who's making the big money is the puppeteers, all right, who control the industry, okay? The marketing, the advertising. Think how much money these races generate. We're talking billions of dollars here, okay, long term. So the riders get, a paltry commission for the money they generate. So they are paid to play, and they are paid to make money. They are paid to pay. The sponsors, etc. They get their returns, etc. Okay, so don't be surprised if you think it's not possible to be involved with that sort of money as a professional athlete in any sport and not have the pressure and expectation to do whatever it takes. You remember, these guys and girls are risking their life every single time they descend at full tilt. When they're sprinting at 60, 70, 80k an hour, they are risking their life. So if you think the step to go to PEDs is a step forward, no, that's a step backward in terms of risk. Nobody dies from the PEDs, the amounts that would be taken in cycling, swimming and running, or soccer or basketball. These amounts are very small, and the marginal gains we're talking, that's all we need. Just a toothpaste tube extra of red blood cells can be the difference between getting 4K head and a 4K eviction warning on your shitty apartment in Chicago. Okay, so that's just the reality, man. It's professional sport. Professional sport is aggressive exercise funded by money to make big fucking money. If you know, you know. All right, so enjoy the Tour de France. See it for what it is, an amazing entertainment. France is a beautiful country to ride your bike. Take your bike to France. Go follow the tour. Enjoy the sun. Pay attention on the roads. Carb the fuck up. And what an amazing race this year's been. Absolutely fantastic. We wish all the riders the best of safety and health. Let the show go on.